So I want to spend a little time talking about upsells and cross sales and how you as a trusted partner when selling desktop as a service can also bring in other complementary technologies that can help you as a business, but also help the customer at the same time. So one of the beautiful things about desktop as a service is, first of all, how sticky it is, but also how it's going to enable other technologies to be enhanced here, right? So under the assumption that your customer has chosen to move to a desktop as a service platform for their business. One of the first things this is going to do is, DaaS and cloud computing in general is very reliant upon quality bandwidth and enough bandwidth. So typically they go hand in hand with increasing the pipe if it's cable to fiber, and even more so the redundancy side of this. So before we even start getting into the applications just on the pure networking side, desktop as a service is going to enable more quality of the internet, but also SD-WAN. What SD-WAN allows for a company to do at the edge, from obviously the automatic failover with the redundancy, being able to prioritize traffic, bring in tertiary type redundancies for the connectivity, makes too much sense for them not to do it. So this is obviously a good positioning point for you to talk to the customer about as a sense of security, but also more of a prioritizing what they're doing and allowing for a quality connection and really what the customers need. The other side of this is any customer that is going to be looking at desktop as a service or making a decision, there's a pretty good chance that UCaaS is going to fit them as well. Very complementary, right? UCaaS and desktop as a service are very complementary to each other. A lot of the benefits that you get from UCaaS on paper are going to be very similar to desktop as a service, such as predictable cost per user, redundancies that are built into place, management, moving the infrastructure off premises, so on and so forth. So these are going to play very nicely. So kind of before you even start getting into the other services that are going to come along with the hosting provider, you already are talking about bandwidth, increasing the pipe, you're talking about SD-WAN, and you're talking about voice with UCaaS. So, obviously very, very advantageous and a good conversation. Now, once you start branching off of the desktop as a service, there's really two areas where we can kind of start pulling through here and cross-selling into, right? First of all, anytime you're doing desktop as a service, obviously one of the big factors is that you're able to access your core line of business applications anytime, any place, anywhere. So where do those core line of business applications sit? Infrastructure as a service, typically going hand in hand here, right? So within infrastructure as a service, now we're talking about parking applications and data within the cloud and delivering them through the virtual desktops. So what are some other things that come with infrastructure as a service? For one would be management, right? Patching, updates, monitoring. That's something that's going to come, with infrastructure as a service, typically kind of an OTT, right? I call it OTT or over-the-top type service. The second one would be security. So if we're looking at DDoS, do they have web servers, right? How are those web servers being protected? Can they do some load balancing on those web servers? So that's something that's going to make a lot of sense to them once we have it and once we're hosting it to be able to optimize that. And the third one, kind of on the security conversation as well, is SIEM, or Security Information Event Monitoring. There's a lot of features and benefits with SIEM can bring. If it's a compliance thing and they're just looking for log monitoring or file integrity, obviously something that's going to be able to be provided by SIEM. Or if it's more of a proactive approach to recognizing malicious activity within their environment to happen. So that's that kind of security piece to managing the environment. So these are all things that are very complementary towards IaaS, and also things that we'll be able to bring in there and kind of cross-sell and keep that business. Now the other piece of this too, outside the infrastructure service, is licensing, right? Licensing is huge. I mean, look at 365. 365 is single-handedly driving the market to an operational model and forcing people to get away from purchasing the licensing themselves and going to third-party companies that specialize in this to procure the licensing through them. So 365 is one. There's a couple different ways they can do it, but traditionally, people are moving to 365 and it's coming into the desktop as service. Now, what are we cross-selling and upselling into here as well, which would be security. In this case, Mimecast. Target threat protection, antivirus, anti-spam, ensuring that no malicious or impersonation attacks are happening within the 365 account. So these are all things that are kind of coming into right, outside the core solutions that you're getting from that and being able to kind of upsell into. Now, the other piece here within the desktop as service is redundancy, right? We talk about redundancy with UCaaS, we talk about redundancy with SD-WAN. What about redundancy on the compute environment? So if we're building out a secondary site, DR and backup. These are different. Obviously, DR and backup are different, but certain companies, compliance regulations are going to drive them to do DR, to have more of a highly available secondary environment out there. And obviously, everybody's going to be doing backups anyway, so this kind of goes without saying. They were going to be backing it up. So as you can see, we talk about desktop as a service as an experience a lot of times and kind of what this allows for the company to do. But when you're selling it and understanding what else kind of goes with the full picture, it's very important because it's going to complement everything that you want to do as a trusted advisor to that business, to bring in new technologies that are going to help increase efficiencies and help make them better. At the same time, allowing you to get in there and be an expert at what you do and truly helping them out. So hope this is able to help and truly understand how this all kind of ties together.